My name is CenterSun21 on Twitter, and you are listening to Center of the Sun podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And today we are going to talk about the possibilities. It's crazy living in this world right now. So many things are happening. What's at the top? Well, McConnell. It's a possibility that Mitch McConnell, Senator Mitch McConnell from the great state of Kentucky, he apparently, on a report that I saw on Twitter from AM Joy, the host of Joy Reid or whatever the hell I'm trying to say, he apparently gave a vote of confidence to the Mueller investigation. So here we are. Even Mitch McConnell was like, "Oh fuck," but that's okay. At least he I guess cares. I don't know. It's weird, and so it's like aliens or something. So I don't even want to know. I'm not even going to ask. What did Trump actually do to win the presidency? Can't tell you. But I bet we'll figure it out though. I'm so sorry. I bet we'll figure it out. And, it's fine. It's totally fine. Because in 2020, I predict that we will control the government. The Democrats will, as what I mean, as we the Democrats will, not myself included, because I don't really care, honestly, because they're all problematic I'm going to say that, problematic, and take a drink. Yeah. So what are you doing this Friday? What are you doing this Friday, people? Tweet me. Well, don't tweet me if you're busy, but if you're not busy, tweet me at CenterSun21. Because I want to know, because I'm just going to stay in the house, because I feel like it's important to work on my writing and my music, other things of that nature, my projects, and to relax, because I also, am a black gay man, and it's hard out here. Anyway, moving along. I'm gonna peruse the New York Times. That's normally where I start. And I'm also drinking a Samuel Adams 76. Sam 76. I was at BP earlier to buy a beer because it's Friday, and I believe that I deserve one. And I was looking at the beer selection, and everything looked like really gross, like all these flavors, like creamsicle and like bubbles cider things, and I'm just like, I literally looked around, and I was also trying to not make eye contact with the man that works at Subway. Very nice man that works at Subway. And so I try not to be a hoe where I sleep. So so I decided not to go down that aisle. So I went to another aisle where they had specialty beers anyway. And but apparently Sam Adams is specialty now, because they are selling a six pack. I don't even know how much it was. I don't even know. What did I pay? I didn't pay more than $10 for it, so I'm like, okay. And I was choosing between Summer Shandy, Orange Shandy, which I've never actually tried, and I was willing to try it because I fuck with Summer Shandy like every summer. It's no mistake. What are you gonna have today, Devon? Summer Shandy, thank you. Harvey Weinstein, he had to turn himself into fucking jail. I'm like, well, I'm glad, because I don't want to be one of those people that are anti-woman and pro-rape. I am definitely not pro-rape, but it did kind of piss me off that like Bill Cosby was the only one that was the only. I want all of them to go down. All of them need to be under the jail, including Donald Trump. So having Harvey Weinstein finally have a day in court, I guess. I don't know. I didn't even read this article. I'm literally reading I'm reading a headline from the New York Times. We got you, Harvey. Harvey Weinstein's accusers react. So the byline is, well, I'm not going to read that. I don't know is that copyright infringement if I read a byline? Harvey Weinstein's ass is finally getting his ugly ass in court, which is fine. And for rape, yeah, he was accused of rape and now is convicted of rape and now is on bail or whatever, or hopefully getting to that point. And so, sad to say, if you're a white dude out here, you need to get your life together, like, so much. Like, y'all talk about people of color, like, imagine that shit in this opiate crisis. I was just talking about, speaking of white men in power, I was speaking with a friend of mine about opiates and how much, if we're talking about monopolizing and economies and stuff, and making sure that our economy is working in a proper fashion, I feel like this pharmaceutical company is very problematic, and I am willing to bet that they caused, and probably maliciously and intentionally so, maliciously perpetuated or intentionally created for this effect. So I think the dumbing down of our general society, even the majority population, I think it's all intentional, but you ain't gonna get me because I'm a researcher. So at heart, I actually love that shit. And I love information and I love data and I love talking about it. So thank you again for listening. We're gonna keep it real spicy today because I'm going to be talking about the possibilities and what led me to this grand idea of center of the sun. A few years ago, so I guess I'm going to start with my personal story is probably the best place to start. So I'm turning 30 this year. Yay me. And while everybody likes to, because I work in a medical field, everyone likes to make these comments like, oh, like you're only 30, like it's like not even that old. And I'm like, I know that. I'm not an ageist. I'm damn near 30, so I'm very well aware of the fact that 30 is not old and that we exaggerate it as a society because we fetishize and sexualize children to a degree that I just do not understand. But that is a discussion for another day. Ooh, that was like not even something I even want to go close to at this point. But people like to downplay the fact that I'm scared to turn 30. And I think it's normal. Isn't it normal? Tweet me, CenterSun21, is aging normal? Like, is being scared to age normal? And has anyone ever told you to calm down about growing up? Because all I see is suffering, to be perfectly fucking honest. Except for a few people who seem to have gotten it right, but they're probably lying anyway. So, you know what? I'm gonna be scared. And death. Can we not forget about that shit? The more we age, the closer we are to death. So, the possibilities. So, has anyone ever used Facebook in such a way that you I only use Facebook to like archive information. I don't actually share information on Facebook. I actually don't believe in that oversharing, in this oversharing culture. But I also want to partake in it because it's so cool. There are still recipes and baby goats and, just like all kinds of like niceties that happen on there. And in addition to all the bullshit that I have to sift through, that I still want to interact with because Facebook started as something way different than what it is now. So I use it as an archiving tool now just to save links and interact with like my mom or whatever. So anyway, for some reason I had this thought to go back to the saved button or the saved menu of my Facebook. And upon doing so, I realized that I had a very strong interest in cooking at one point, and did not cook, not near a dish or a bowl or nothing. But I have all the recipes if you need some. Sweet Meat Center Sun 21 hashtag. I have no idea. Hashtag I have no idea. You get a free recipe. Anyway. But in there, the reason why I did it was in order just to like make sure that I didn't forget anything, because it's probably like years of like saved links. And before the saved button even existed, I was saving stuff. So I ran across this article that I really fuck with, because it opened up my eyes years ago about the way we think in our society, specifically, not even specific, literally about everything. We live in this dichotomous society where we are forced to choose a lot of times between a 1 or a 0, a yes or a no, a he or a she, a blue or a pink. There's all kind of things like that. And to a certain degree, it does make life a little bit easier for us, because it simplifies our choices and just allows us to just have fun or relax or not think about something. That's what makes us humans, is we like changing, whatever that means. We like change. As much as we say we don't, we love it. So we always love automating something. We always love a new, fresh something thing. But what we don't like are new thoughts. And for some reason, I don't understand why we don't focus on critical thinking and analyzation and allowing ourselves to experience the fullness of the universe, because the universe, as we know it right now, is infinite. So literally, there could be infinite possibilities. Hello? So I wanted to share that article with you all today, because it will be probably the foundation of a lot of my time with you today and moving forward into the future. When I was, 19, 20 years old, I would say that I probably experienced a identity crisis at that point, because of my sexuality, because of school and the region in which I live and all that kind of stuff. It really impacted my ability to cope. And one of the foundational things in my life has always been religion, specifically Christianity, where if you're gay, you're told that you're going to hell. In certain denominations, people love to defend their religions and all that, whatever. At the end of the day, I don't care, because it's not religion that is the problem. It's the thought process and the lack or the abandonment of critical thinking. So I don't really want to bash anybody for having religion or whatever, but at the end of the day, I respect critical analysis. So if you've critically analyzed your religion and you have the ability to justify it, by all means, I want to hear it. I love talking about stuff. I love sharing information, love hearing points of view that are different than mine, because my point of view will most likely change. If you have a good argument, you can change my mind. But I am also intelligent myself, so I've thought about literally, I like to preface statements with the fact that, like, I'm a man. I'm a man and I know what I'm saying, and people tend to, because I'm a black man, they tend to discount my words for whatever reason. But I like to tell people, whether or not you think you agree with my statement or you think my statement is wrong or whatever it is, I critically thought about what I was going to say before I say it. And I never say anything, and I will never apologize for what I say, because I mean everything that I say. Generally, if you get an apology out of me, it means that I'm actually sorry, because that's how I was raised. So in my formative years, I had a lot of issues and ended up having watching some zeitgeist movie on YouTube about like the world order and like computer chips under the skin and all these conspiracy theories, and I actually don't discount any of that stuff, but the presentation was like very lackluster looking back. Now that we're in 2018, I don't feel like it gave me the information that I was looking for. So as a result, I kept seeking, moved home, worked at McDonald's, did a bunch of shit, tried all kinds of drugs, did all kind of stuff, just trying to find myself, trying to find my identity, and trying to cope with the fact that I don't fit into this world. So years later, I don't even know when I found this damn article, but years later, you know what? Because I had a lot of issues with suicidal ideation and self-harm and stuff like that. So death and suicide to me are not taboo. Believe it or not. That's why I respect medical professionals and stuff, people that deal with death, because it's not as scary as we think it is. And it's actually probably, to most people, preferred, because life fucking sucks. But the thing about that is that is an irrational thought, I've learned, and there are ways around dealing with depression and suicidal ideation. Speaking with a healthcare provider is definitely the best option that I would suggest. I am not a healthcare provider myself, but I work in the vicinity of such folks, and believe it or not, it works. So oh yeah, and I finally found the antidepressant that works for me, so I can finally do things like personal hobbies and stuff like that. I'm getting back on my horse because there are possibilities. There are so many possibilities. The possibilities are infinite. Have you thought about the possibilities? Imagine. Center Sun 21, how do you define a possibility in your life? Open-ended question. It's meant to be weird. And that's okay. So David Eagleman is a gentleman. He's a neuroscientist. He studies the brain. Very specifically, he's a specialist in that way. And this article that he wrote for the New Yorker, like years ago, I couldn't even tell you how long ago it was. 2011. Yeah. So this was back then when I was still very young. And David Eagleman, I first saw a clip of him talking about this idea that he had around possibilian or possibilianitarianism or something. So think of like possibilities or the seeking of knowledge to be like a lifestyle to a degree. Or what am I trying to say? He described it in a way that like, it's like it's neutral. It's not anything because we don't know shit. And that's okay too. And so he talked about this idea that he had about the dichotomies and the binaries and the systems that we set up to understand our world are just that. They're tools that help us understand the world. They are not the world. Like, who the fuck decided that boy, B-O-Y means boy and G-I-R-L means girl, and that these, that was a decision by somebody at some point. And decisions change over time. And as old as the earth is, humans are a drop in the bucket. Human age, the age of humans, the era of our species is young compared to the heavenly bodies. So he struck me with an idea that allowed me to cope with the fact that I lost my religion. I will definitely say that. Not lost it completely, but I was just in a space that I was like, I'm definitely not Christian. You can't tell me I'm Christian because that shit is evil and I don't like it. And that's just my opinion. And it took me a while to reconcile my differences, but now I'm back, I'm like, okay, I can actually see why people ascribe to these ideals. I'm not about to be up in here doing nothing with nobody's holy nothing, but it's okay because there are possibilities. David Eagleman, he helped articulate what I was feeling about the world because I have never been a yes person, or I've never been a person that just like could accept things for what they are. I've always been a questioner or curious. I've always been curious. I've always questioned everything. And I've always valued that quality in others. Oh yeah, and I finally found the antidepressant that works for me, so I can finally do things like personal hobbies and stuff like that. I'm getting back on my horse because there are possibilities. There are so many possibilities. The possibilities are infinite. Have you thought about the possibilities? Imagine. How do you define a possibility in your life? Open-ended question. It's meant to be weird. And that's okay. So David Eagleman is a gentleman. He's a neuroscientist. He studies the brain. Very specifically, he's a specialist in that way. And this article that he wrote for the New Yorker, like years ago, I couldn't even tell you how long ago it was. 2011. Yeah. So this was back then when I was still very young. And David Eagleman, I first saw a clip of him talking about this idea that he had around possibilian or possibilianitarianism or something. So think of like possibilities or the seeking of knowledge to be a lifestyle to a degree. Or no, what am I trying to say? He described it in a way that like, it's like it's neutral. It's not anything because we don't know shit. And that's okay too. And so he talked about this idea that he had about the dichotomies and the binaries and the systems that we set up to understand our world are just that. There are tools that help us understand the world. They are not the world. Like, who the fuck decided that boy, B-O-Y means boy and G-I-R-L means girl, and that these, that was a decision by somebody at some point. And decisions change over time. And as old as the earth is, humans are a drop in the bucket. Human age, the age of humans, the era of our species is young compared to the heavenly bodies. He struck me with an idea that allowed me to cope with the fact that I lost my religion. I will definitely say that. Not lost it completely, but I was just in a space that I was like, I'm definitely not Christian. You can't tell me I'm Christian because that shit is evil and I don't like it. And that's just my opinion. And it took me a while to reconcile my differences, but now I'm back, I'm like, okay, I can actually see why people ascribe to these ideals. I'm not about to be up in here doing nothing with nobody's holy nothing, but it's okay because there are possibilities. And David Eagleman, he helped articulate what I was feeling about the world because I have never been a yes person, or I've never been a person that just like could accept things for what they are. I've always been a questioner or curious. I've always been curious. I've always questioned everything. And I've always valued that quality in others. So in this article, so full disclosure, as I was saying earlier, I found this article again because it was in my saved links of Facebook. So my understanding of the article was a little bit hazy, and I was like, wait, I remembered like the gist of what I got from it, but I actually don't know what the article was about. So the other day, when I had this thought, I jumped up in bed for some reason, opened up Facebook. I'm rolling my eyes to myself, like, I just like jump up because I have these compulsions to learn at random times, but I jump up and I open my Facebook thing and I'm like, what is that article? What was that article about? So I had to read it the other day. But full disclosure, I've only read half of it so far in this topic, in this podcast rather. And I probably will have an update later because it's a huge thing. It's a huge amount of information that is in this article. So basically the gist of what his research was doing and kind of helping us understand in 2011 was that our understanding of how the brain transmits information was not as clear-cut or finite and concluded or whatever as we thought it was. So traditional or standard, or more mainstream information about how brain chemistry works really is very dumbed down. But basically what I understand about it is that, electrical signals and water and all kinds of stuff are happening. Water is the conductor, and it's, promoting this intense electrical activity. Our brains are the most advanced pieces of biology in this universe that we know of, and this and that. Like, our brains are awesome in that they communicate through synapses, through neurotransmitters, through neurons, and then the exchange of information is called a synapse. What I'm reading here is Eagleman's program was theoretical. From the New Yorker, it quotes that Eagleman's program was as theoretical as it was a technical feat. So he was trying to show that brain cells were exchanging information not through neurotransmitters, but through the ebb and flow of calcium atoms. And I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck that means. If you know what that means, tweet me at CenterSun21. But that's the thing about research. You don't have to know what it means. All you have to know is that your previous notion has now been compromised in some way, and that further reading and investigation is now necessary, because what you thought was true, that word, Crystal said it, Crystal from the Read said it, words mean things. Truth is a word that has a very heavy meaning, and we can't just talk about truths out here when there is alternate, or not alternate, because Kellyanne Conway ruined that fucking word, when there are divergent theories about that particular topic. So, and I got that from HBO. Thank you, Divergent Allegiant. I love a post-apocalyptic. Oh, let me tell you, I love a post-apocalyptic. What a post-apocalyptic dystopian ass movie. That's like my favorite genre. We're going to talk about The Matrix at some point too, because that shit. Talk about the possibilities. Yes. Sorry. But anyway, Eagleman challenged our notion of how brain chemistry worked. So it got me thinking about my own brain chemistry and my own ability to think, or transcend thinking, or traditional notions of how we think. And really, it gave me some hope for the future, because I was like, okay, maybe, because one of my biggest things was like, okay, whether or not human history is correct or whatever it is, there is value in storytelling. We value storytelling because that's our like most concrete way of sharing information, but it's also the most tricky and inefficient. And what else? It can be problematic at times. Let's just leave it at that. So anyway, it challenged our notion of how we exchange information, and as he went on to earn his postdoc from Salk Institute, he became interested in different kinds of simulations of the brain and how when introducing stimuli, our notions of how this all worked kind of fell apart, and we got more information about these calcium atoms and the ways in which our brain chemistry needs to be discovered in further or not really discovered, but it needed to be revisited. The idea that stuck out to me most in this article was the idea of time and the relativity of time from one person to another, especially when observing brain chemistry. So he theorizes that in this New Yorker article written in 2011 by David Eagleman, he theorizes that the world inside of your skull is just that. It's a world is literally a world of its own with its own time, its own notion of time, or its own idea, or its own clock. Observing these calcium atoms and the ebb and flow of the brain chemistry, they're like, wait, is that the ticker? Is that, like they're like, wait, there are these various mechanisms in the body that seem to be perfectly timed, but every mechanism has a different time. But if you put them all together and study them together, are there patterns? And I was like, wait, hold on. So what is going on inside of our skull? What is going on with the processes inside the body that promote our well-being and promote our survival and promote our ability to thrive? And then I remembered that he was talking about possibilianism. Possibilianism. I'm trying to say it in an articulate way. But it's this notion that, like, hey, things are not exactly as they seem, and that's okay. When's the last time an idea challenged you, but changed you? Tweet me, CenterSun21. This idea challenged me because I was like, wait, I don't understand. Like, how did you just like, but it's hard science. Like, it's irrefutable images of the brain. Like, and it's published in an article in the New Yorker, and it's validated by all these scientists. I'm like, hold on. I'm stressed out as fuck. Like, for what? Why am I so stressed? When literally everybody is probably wrong. Like, it's so stressful to just think of that notion that everybody can be wrong and that I'm literally alone in my world, inside of my skull, because everyone's body is different. Literally the processes, my body mechanics, my metabolism, my heart rate, my respiratory rate, my oxygen levels, my creatinine clearance, there are all these processes that are perfectly timed by what? We don't time it because we're not conscious of anything that's going on. Our body is so resilient and so smart that it has movement. It moves, does things without our knowledge, but it keeps us alive. And then we destroy it. Like I'm drinking the Sam 76 right now, destroying every liver cell in my body. But you should pay attention to your liver because you only get one. And y'all think transplants are abundant, but they're not. You'll be looking like Denzel Washington and John Q, crying and unsuccessful. It's okay though. Maybe. But possibilitarianism helped me come to this realization. I'm definitely not ascribing to the religion in which I was raised. Definitely can't do that. No, ma'am. On the other hand, atheism as Gnosticism, it's polar opposite of how I was raised, also doesn't feel right. Why can't there be a nothing box, Why can't there be a category in which we keep seeking the right answer? And I don't want to say anybody's wrong. Like, I can't say you're wrong. I can't say atheists are wrong, because that's definitely a theory. I can't say religion's wrong, because that is most likely a theory. I can't say anything adjacent to those denominations or categories are valid. I don't really think they're valid, because they don't allow for everything to be a possibility. So that acknowledgement of the world and the infinite nature of the universe, that will be my religion. So when people ask me, what's your religion? I say, I'm nothing. I ascribe to nothing because I'm not done yet. I'm only 29. Why do I have to pick something? Why do I have to choose? Why can't we be in the middle? Where's the gray area? Can I be neutral? Can I choose when I get to the pearly gates? Or the gates of hell, whichever one. Pretty sure I'll go to heaven, whichever one, because I've, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But anyway, you don't have to choose. There are possibilities. And this neuroscientist, he helped me get to that point. Get to the point where I felt able and equipped to keep seeking. So I wanted to share that with you all today, because it helped me just challenge my thoughts. And that's all it does. That's all I want people to do, is just like allow other thoughts to come in. For instance, on the History Channel, another source of information that I fuck with, the show Ancient Aliens on tonight, Friday. It's on tonight. You go on my DVR so I don't miss it. Why don't we talk about, like allowing ideas like that? Like when I go to work and talk about like ancient aliens, or like different ways that humans could evolve, have evolved. Did humans evolve? Were humans engineered? Were humans created by a higher power? All of these are possibilities. And why haven't we studied them like we study fucking petroleum uses and shit like that? And it's maddening, because it's so important to us that we actually treat it the opposite of things that are important to us. Like, I really had to sit there and like, wow, this is the only area in my life in which I have not critically analyzed, and I am critically scared about that part. So there are lots of things like that out there. Just, I'm reading like a 7-year-old ass article that still is giving me life every time. I haven't even read the full thing yet. But his idea, he's challenging everything that I thought was true. That's what I want you to take from that. Is that truth. Truth. What does truth mean to you? Truth is relative, believe it or not. So therefore it's not truth, it's belief. Yeah. And then now I'm pissed at myself that I just told myself that, because now I have to fucking live by it. It's like, damn it, there's no such thing as truth. No, there's no such thing as truth. Truth is in the forms. Descartes said it. Truth is in the forms. Beauty is in the forms. There's nothing. We don't know. And that's okay. It's okay to not know. It's okay to not choose. Because there are possibilities. Thank you for listening.